Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson, and this is As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 19th day of September, 2024. Well, Mabon starts tomorrow through, I think, the 24th, and the 22nd, which is Sunday, we have the sun entering Libra, we have the equinox. So lots of energy with the full moon the other night and the crone moon last night. I don't know. It's just lots and lots of. I had trouble sleeping. I was just awake through it. I guess because of it being a super moon and the partial eclipse and all that. I couldn't see the partial eclipse because it was too cloudy. But last night was beautiful, and I got some really nice pictures of the crone moon. So look for those to come up on the blog at some point, and I'll probably I don't know, maybe I like the moon picture I use for the astrological overview, but I don't know, maybe I'll switch it, try one of the ones I took last night, because they're very cool. Lit up the whole place. It was lovely. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Do I have, I have all that ready. Okay, looking for my little calculator there, and so I can do the numerology. Anyhow, let's go ahead and take the rune for the above side out of the Elder Futhark bag. We'll wait till they all fall through my fingers, and the last one's the rune. Here we go. Oh, we have Elwaz. Is that Elwaz? Yeah, that's Elwaz. Now, Elwaz, not to be confused with Iwaz. Elwaz looks like a little M. The next one after that is Manaz, which you just kind of continue these lines down here, and you look like a little bow tie in the middle of, it's Dagaz anyway, in the middle of essentially two Isa on each side, Isa runes. But here we have Elwaz is the 19th rune, and it corresponds with the 19th day today. That's kind of fun. Losing my voice here, though. Let me take a little drink of tea. Anyway, Elwaz is about momentum. It's about change. It's the intuitive bond we share with one another. It's thought to be because it's useful in astral travel, journeying exercises, those kinds of things. You can use it as like a portal to go through it. I do that sometimes when I'm doing a journeying exercise. I'll envision Elwaz and walk through that doorway essentially. But it's about really represents binding toward mutual end in a way. So in that regard, relationships. It's essentially Laguz forward and reversed, and it meets in the middle here to form the M. And so again, with Laguz, it's flowing from spirit, and so it's that higher resonance relationship we have with one another in terms of unity consciousness and the collective consciousness. It's coming together in that essentially the as above, so below nature of our relationships. And who we are as souls interacting together here in physical reality. But it's basically the intuitive bond we share. With Laguz, it would be intuition. So and the flowing and intuition. So the intuitive bond we share with one another would be Elwaz. And so there's something today then, we'll say, that is possibly going to involve understanding our relationships from that higher perspective, instead of having it be an either. Relationships these days is either or. You're on one side of the fence or you're on the other side of the fence about things, and we need to understand that that's false. That's just a false dichotomy. And we need to understand that how we actually flow is in spirit toward one another, essentially creating that intuitive bond, or that soul level bond that we can't choose not to have. Essentially, I know it seems like we're choosing not to have it, but the reality is we can't even make that choice because it's just who we are. And Fortuna Major is the Geomancy rune for today, so that's going to be greater fortune. And so if you're looking at that, I mean, that can mean success. It can mean having self-confidence, and all of that. But realistically, if you want to think about it in terms of Elwaz, our greatest fortune is understanding the truth of who we are, right? So here would be Fortuna Major. Fortuna Minor, its complement would be more progressive type of success, but this would be like the windfall. It can also mean micromanaging, so your ego can get a little too far, out of control there, and see success from that standpoint. But I really think when you combine it together with Elwaz, our greatest fortune again is who we are to one another, and realizing that fundamental truth that we can't escape, no matter how much our earthly experiences might challenge us that way, to do that. And to see everyone as the other instead of the other side of self, because that's really what we all are to one another, is the other side of self. And when you think of it that way, it kind of hopefully gives you a little pause, to see the reality of all of this, instead of the human-made idea of separation and us versus them, and trying to, we see that in our political arena right now, where we've got one side of the coin who's deciding to go ahead, that lying is okay. I've said that. Actually, I'll lie if that's what I need to do. I'll just lie. I know it's not true, but I'll lie. And talking about people that have moved into actually the state he represents, and that are from another country, and of course, lots of lies are being told about them now, and I mean, they've been there for years, and so why do that? Why sacrifice that Ewa's reality of who we are to one another just as a means to an end? And so we're seeing a lot of that now, where again, let's just you have another country that's at the heart of this disinformation, paying people to do all of that, and it really it flies in the face of the fundamental truth of who we are. And at some point, we're going to have to understand that and go from that standpoint of that we are, that this intuitive bond, this soul level bond that we share with everyone, there's no difference, even though there are those that wish to call attention to a manufactured, a false difference. And so let's see what the cards have to say. We had let's see, on Monday we had the Two of Cups, the Hangman, and the Six of Swords. So this time, instead of cups and swords, we have pentacles and wands, and we also have the moon. So the same type of major arcana card versus the other two minor arcana, or same sort of pattern there. But let's go ahead and talk about the moon first. Here we see a couple of canine-looking creatures. One's a wolf, one's a dog. We see a crayfish coming up out of the pond, heading out. It looks like it's going to come out of the pond and head up this nice little path there that winds toward the mountains there. There's a little tiny peak on one side of it, so that it can imply some emotional balance there. But I think that the dark versus the light, the two towers, and the idea of rebirth with the crayfish, the idea of rebirth and transformation and awakening, and having some kind of an emotional balance for us with the moon. But you also see with the moon deception. And so the deception, again, if we're talking about Elwaz and who we are to one another, the deception that we see right now of trying to destroy all of that, and disregard the fundamental truth of who we are, just so someone can win a contest, to gain power. It's all deception oriented. And so for today, how we see things matters. Are we going to allow that awakening to take place with the moon, given that we just came through and we're still in it? You're still going to feel the effect of the full moon for a couple more days, but are we going to acknowledge the deception that of the differentiation between light and dark, essentially? Are we going to understand that that's just, we need to have a balance in our life where the shadow side of self is revealed as whatever the mistruth, the deception about that, right? Bringing that into illumination and seeing it for what it is. You could look at it possibly that way. I like to see it that way because of the crayfish coming out of the water. And it's like with the lobster, they shed their skin, right? They shed their shell, and they have the renewal and the rebirth. It's the same sort of thing. And the idea of having a rebirth in balance, within and without. It just seems to me that the illusion of separation right now is so strong, but that's all it is an illusion. And we have to still come back together, as the self and the other side of self. You can't lose one or the other, essentially. And that's what, when the ego gets going and the ego wants to take over, this is what we end up experiencing. This false dichotomy, this false nature, the deception that wants to come out. And I think that the moon represents that. And given that, we just had the crone phase of the full moon, there we were in reflection about what it is we were bringing to light on the full moon. Now we're going to reflect on it, and we're still in that period, and to understand that illumination and awakening is there. We just have to turn our attention to it. That's all we have to do, and see that for what it is. Then we come to another sense of balance here. We have the Seven of Pentacles. Pentacles represents the earth element, or our material security. Here we have a farmer standing there, leaning on his hoe or his rake, and just taking a look at the harvest, and does he have enough? And is he, or he's probably getting ready for harvest here with Mabon on Sunday, and then it's one of the harvest observations here, harvest festivals, if you will, so here he's looking at all his grapes that are growing, and whether or not he's going to have enough, and what he's how much is ready to be sold or put up for the year or whatever. But basically he's standing there taking stock. He's pausing for the moment and observing and taking stock of what he has. And I think with Elwaz, you're essentially asking the same thing, to take stock of what you have, of who you are with one another, and is your greatest fortune found in that realization that we are essentially one with each other. That's our greatest fortune. And so, in a sense, that's what he's at. The Seven of Pentacles is asking us to do. Where is our greatest fortune right now? Is it in the deception? Is it in the illusion? Is that how we see it? Are we stronger when we're separate? Or are we stronger when we're together? And we're heading down the same path toward whatever challenges may await. It doesn't matter. We're together on that. We're in balance with one another. We're in harmony with one another. 7 is the number of spirituality. It's also the number of observation, of taking stock, of letting things settle so that you understand what the truth of things are, what you need, what you already have. And so you have that balance there. But you get it through stopping and letting go of whatever is going on, and just going within and assessing, where am I in all of this? Is my reality in the idea and the illusion of separation from one another, or is my reality in the intuitive bond that I share with all? You see? So you have to make that decision. Where does your greatest fortune lie? And here, the 6 of wands, we have a man of means. You can tell because he's riding on the horse. He's higher up. There's an inequality in the 6s, in the minor arcana, in the Rider-Waite, where either someone has something and is giving to people who don't. So there's a sense of inequality there. But here you have the inequality by the fact that he's on the ornate horse. He's the guy. He's either the lord of the manor, or he's royalty or something. Basically, you've got everybody else walking on the ground next to him, but they're all going in the same direction here. And so you see a sense of victory because you see the wreath here and the wreath here attached to his staff. Everyone else is holding a staff as they walk next to him, all going in the same shared direction. 6 is about empathy and guidance, but it's also about shared direction or shared purpose. And again, with Ehwaz, that's what we're doing. We're having this intuitive bond that we share with one another, this fundamental purpose that we share with one another as our greatest fortune, and going in the same direction here in celebration of all of that. Something's happened positive. Maybe he's been to a meeting of other landowners or other kings or whatever. There's no crown here though, so I'm not going to say that he's necessarily the king. But he's certainly somebody that's important, and so likely he's the lord of the castle or whatever in his little area that he lives, and they've come back and from a meeting where they were victorious. Something positive happened, and now they're all going in the same direction in celebration of that. And so again, what do you want to celebrate? That could be akin to Fortuna Major with the celebration here in the 6. What are you celebrating? Are you celebrating diversity and love and unity and harmony? Or are you celebrating the other side of that, where the ego controls everything and the illusion of separation and of difference becomes the only thing that matters? And I'm just saying here with this reading, I think that given the full moon, especially the type that it was, having the shadow come over it with the partial eclipse and then coming back into full light, it really makes you think, at least I hope it makes you think, that where we place our attention matters. Are we placing it in the realm of separation, or are we placing it in the realm of unity consciousness? And the fact is there might be a little bit of a shadow over that moon for a short time, but then all of a sudden there it is again in its full, in her full glory, essentially. And last night being able to reflect on all of that. The day before is the maiden, where we feel that sense of anticipation of what will the moon illuminate, during this time, during this full moon. And being that it was in Pisces, your spirituality, your imagination, your emotions are coming to the surface, and you're able to understand empathy for other people, to understand the connection we all share together. And again, I think the 6 of Wands is illustrating that. So as we illuminate who we are to one another, coming together in Ehwaz, we take stock of who we are, we take stock of what we have, and where is our greatest fortune lie? Is it in the unity consciousness of the souls that are in the astral realm together? Is that where we begin, and is that where we manifest from? Or do we forget all about that? And forget who we are to one another, and the intuitive bond we share, the spiritual bond we share with one another, and just make it some mass hysteria where people are being harmed and either emotionally or physically or what have you, because that's happening right now, and to have to live in fear of one another. Or do we want to be in love with one another, living in the higher resonance of that type of love and family with one another? So I think for today, think about that. Where do you stand? Where is your heart? Where is your greatest fortune? Is it again in understanding who we fundamentally are as souls, having a shared experience here in physical reality? What do we want that to look like? Or are you so caught up in the hate of it all and the separation of it all and in the other of it all that you can't see any of that? That you're in the shadow of that eclipse. You're not seeing the whole light. You're not seeing the whole picture. and understanding how that needs to be our focus and our shared journey that we have together in victory and greater fortune, in Fortuna Major, you see. So, I don't know. I love the synchronicity between the 19th day and the 19th card. 9 and 1 is 10, 1 and 0 is 1. So again, just like on Monday, we had a 1 numerology overall for the reading on Monday. We have the same today. So in a sense, you know, it's the full moon gives a chance for new beginnings. You know, you set your intention on the new moon. You see how things are going on the full moon. Sometimes you can do it, you can think of it that way. And then we just keep going around in that same cycle, right? Till we reach the new moon again. So now it's waning. And so this is time for reflection. Reflection on the truth of things, on the reality of things. Will you embrace it or will you reject it? So that's the question, I think. Anyhow, thanks for watching on this Thursday. Anyhow, have a wonderful weekend. Lots to think about, huh? And come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice again. In fact, I'll just stop here. I needed to remind you about the blog. Check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. The web address there says imsteppingaside.com. If you forget, click on more below the video, and a little window will open up, and it'll show you that right there. And all the stuff goes out on the blog on the midnight hour Sunday morning. So look for the forecast and the overall or the astrological overview. And I'm doing a little herb magic series, so look for that. And also the correspondences for work and magic are there for the week. And so check that out. I'd love you to do that. And again, come back on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.